Hello, good morning. Hello, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our Sunday podcast. With you, your host, Greg Piskozub and James Wyatt. But today, we are diving deep into our property investment journey with Lifeline Properties and Soulfull Stays. We'll be sharing with you our journey of success and failures, and what made us to be here today, and what give us the right to share actually our successes and failures with you. James, good morning. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, Greg. Good morning to you. You're not in your usual place. Where are you today?
James, I'm connecting from Antalya in Turkey.
Oh, nice.
It's been absolutely a beautiful journey with my family, and it's really hot. I've got limited resources on my battery on my laptop because I forgot the charger. Well, I was really in a holiday mood, and hopefully I've actually spoken to the management to lend me a better internet, so we can do this because the internet and data, it's luxury here. But anyway, here we are today, and despite the fact we've made this commitment with James to be with you every Sunday, 9 a.m. to share the story. Apart from the fact it's 11 here,
Yeah.
so we love it. But James, today is a big subject because we've done a lot of training over the last 2 3 years, and we know hundreds of people who made big investment in time and money to do
Mm.
what we are doing, and we see some of them deciding, or some of them making their mind that actually the property investment is not for them, and that is crazy, isn't it? Tell me,
Mm.
what's your opinion about that?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, just because you get all this training, you're talking about the property mastermind programs or any other training that's out there. You get lots and lots of people that go on these courses and then they don't really use that knowledge, or perhaps along the way they change their direction. Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly, yes.
Okay. Do you think that is to do with that's a happiness thing, isn't it? So, perhaps they've learned all they needed to learn about property, but actually they think, that wouldn't make me a happy person because maybe there's too many, it's too much out of their control. Because isn't that the essence of being happy, is when that we can have the choices to do what we want to do? That to me is really important. If to be happy is to have choice. So maybe what we're saying is that even though we've got all of this sort of property knowledge, we suddenly realize that a lot of it is out of our control, and that maybe we're
Yes.
steered towards something within that world that we've learned that gives us more control, and perhaps we would be happier doing that. That could be the answer, actually.
Well, but this is, that's why, we've both decided to go on, go live today and share share our failures as well as successes, because it's like you rightly said many times before when we talk about it, is the art of doing, and we are all failing. And I believe that some of those people who we know personally and professionally, they've been locking themselves out of trying the investment journey because of just a sheer fear of failing. And
Mm.
actually, what the message that we both are sharing here today is failing is good, because
Yes.
you're learning going forward. And if you are watching closely, everyone who's doing developments, investing, they failed many times before, but they
Yep.
learn each time they do it. And the fact that they are taking a good learning out of each time they fail, that's what makes them successful. And that's, in hindsight, really simplifying things. That's it.
Yeah, and the thing is, Greg, is that there was some statistics on this. They did this survey on all of these successful businesses and venture things and stuff
Mm.
that they could measure, and they realized that success can be as little as 7% of an overall business. So my point is that the biggest failure is not starting. That is If there's one thing I can add value today to everybody, that is it. There's two types of failure. And the first one is not starting. That's the biggest one. And the second one is you're going to fail within whatever you choose to do. So if you're going to get into property, you're going to make mistakes. If you're going to get into business, you're going to make mistakes. If you're going to get into investing, you're going to make mistakes. If 7% wins, then you're going to have a lot of failures along the way. And if you was to put that into terms of buying property, that means for every 7 properties I buy out of 100, and there's not many people that buy 100 properties, 7 would be really, really successful. But those 7 wins, Greg, would far outweigh all of the losses. And I want to give you a little fact. I just want to give you one of my favorite facts that I know about Walt Disney, for example. Now, Walt Disney, as we all know, is one of the most successful animation companies on the planet. But what a lot of people don't realize is that when it started in 1930, it was a complete flop. It failed. It came out of the into the marketplace and failed. And it continued to fail. It borrowed bad money. It created terrible shows, and it produced thousands of hours of terrible footage. And for 5 long years, it failed until in 1936, 1935, it created 83 minutes of something that changed its complete future. And that was Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. So for 83 minutes of footage made them the most successful animation business known to man. But look how long it failed for before it got there. It's a big extreme that, but that's my point. The biggest failure is not starting, and you will fail in whatever you decide to do.
If you're there in the audience and you're listening to us live, or maybe you're just listening to us, as a recording, please share with us in the comments what was, your biggest obstacle, or that you were afraid of going, but actually you've took that step, you've took that leap of faith, you did it, and you may have failed, but you learned from it. That learning actually helped you on the next phase, on the next step, on the next deal or investment. Please share in the comment. It will be really interesting and actually learning. And this is the value that we would like to share today, and with your help as well. Please do comment below.
And the thing is, Greg, is that you can read as many books as you like, and you can go to as many courses as you like, and you can go on as many of these sort of courses that people go on. But the actual doing, the physical failing that you get from failing, the actual doing, that is how you learn. That's when you really know, you understand that failing forward is the most important thing. You learn when you're in the arena, not in the seats looking at the arena. So that's why it's absolutely fine to fail. And that's what the point of today is. Me and Greg are going to share some stuff that didn't go well for us, but it's how we dealt with that was really, really important. Remember, it's not how many times you're hit, it's how many times you get up that is really, really important. So
I'm going to go first. I'm going to go first.
Go for it.
And I am, I'm going to share this with you. So one of my biggest failure is not actually going forward. And this is when 2 years ago, I had these 2 amazing deals, 2 amazing properties. And me being me, my engineering background, I just talked myself out of this deal. If you did the same, just comment below, or just give me a high five and like. I took myself out of it because I could not recycle all of the money, and how stupid I was completely. So I've seen my friends coming out of their deals, and that was just, post-COVID or during the COVID, and they recycle all of the money, and they were just really cracking amazing deals. And I had 2 amazing bungalows I took myself out of buying because they were only doing 22 and the other one 27% ROI, but not recycling all of the money. I shoot myself in the foot today if I only knew that I would happily do those deals anytime now. But well, this is it. So that's one of my biggest failure, is not going forward because I was too afraid I can't recycle all of the money and that wouldn't be a good deal. that's my failure. I've lost on time, and I potentially lost my investment.
I mean,
James.
that is so true. We shouldn't just be looking for unicorn deals. If we are wasting our days, looking for the absolute perfect deals that look like they can never go wrong on paper, you're missing the point. It's not about looking for unicorn deals. It's about doing deals. It's about starting. It's about getting going. That is what this game's all about. And this reminds me, actually, and if you don't mind, Greg, I want to talk about a particular property that left me in that conundrum. I couldn't quite work out what to do, whether it would make money. But I come from a business background. I'm a business coach, and I understand that it's all about the doing. We can we can deal with the problems along the way, but the doing is everything. So I literally was outside of a building in Colchester, and it was due to go to auction that day. And I was so fed up with looking at the numbers, talking to people, analyzing. It was driving me nuts. In fact, it was going against something that I use a lot, and that is my intuition, my gut feeling. Sometimes that is so important, and it's more important than the numbers. So I famously drove to the site, and I parked my van outside, and I put my hand on the building, and I closed my eyes, and I used my gut feeling to tell me if I thought this would be a good deal or not. This is true. And as I stood there and I put my hand on the building, I could feel the energy of the building, and I thought, you know what, this
People.
is a good deal. So
People, please be very careful. Don't just go out there and buy buildings by touching them. This is not what we advise to do. James is the higher spiritual energy who can do that. We don't advise you to go and do that just yet. But
well, so I did. I jumped back in my van, and it came up on the auction. And you got to understand, I'm a great believer in flow, synchronicity, great timing. And it came up on the screen, and it came up for bidding, and I bid on it. Somebody else bid. I bid again, and I won it. And I won that building, and I felt fantastic that I just made a decision. Surely somehow I could make it work. I mean, I'm very experienced in business. I've had plenty of times when things go wrong and you've had to just dig in there and find a solution. So I've got that in me anyway. So we went on to buy that building. And what I realized is that when I looked at the pack, I could see that I had planning permission basically it was commercial site, Greg. And as we all know, under permitted development, so PD rights, we can convert commercial buildings in the main into residential, as long as they're outside of Article 4 and there's no restrictions on the covenants. But in the main, you can turn commercial into residential. In fact, the government want you to do this because in our dying high streets, what else are we going to do with them? So I'm a big fan of commercial shops, changing the uppers into residential, HMOs, SA, normal ASTs, whatever you need to do. But I like to keep the shop element because the shop element is for local businesses to come back into the high streets. So what we're essentially doing is we're regenerating high streets by using clever planning rules. So that is what I was going to do. So I had planning permission for 3 apartments. Okay, great. But my point is that planning permission does not mean it's profitable. Don't get fooled by that. Don't think that just because something's got planning permission, it will be profitable. And I wanted to just show you something. And this is basically the planning permission that was done by somebody, and it was pretty much done on the back of a fag packet. And I know that you can't quite see this very well, but basically the essence is that this particular property had been given planning permission for 3 flats. So the planning department said yes, but the building control, the actual building of it couldn't be built because it had an outside space. It had these 3 staircases that needed to be built to get to the outside space. And in the planning application, they were spiral. Well, unfortunately, due to, building control, fire regulations, they couldn't actually be built. So I've got this property that's got planning permission, but they couldn't actually build the staircases. So that meant that my fag packet build cost based on the price per square meter that we all use was irrelevant. It didn't work. It went, well, do you want to know the truth? In order to get those staircases meant that I had to build a steel structure, which meant that costs were going up and up and up. And in fact, they nearly doubled, Greg. The cost of build nearly doubled. So, but that didn't ruin the deal. It just meant that the planning permission couldn't be built. So really be really careful about planning permission does not mean profit. So look, all we did was change the way that we built it, and we actually added another room upstairs. We had to create a staircase that allowed us to have more space to get upstairs. So we actually created a new room, which meant an extra bedroom, which meant that the GDV, the cost of the flat, went up in value, and that up in value covered the cost to get it. So the win was the GDV. We ended up with 2-bedroom flats as opposed to one, and that increase in GDV covered the increase in the cost to build them. But there you go. There's a story there that planning permission does not mean profit, but it's the way you deal with that whilst you're in the arena. Remember, I'm in the arena. I've bought the building. The way we dealt with that was winning. We won from those dark days. I mean, but wow, there's a real good example of how you have to deal with it when you're in the arena, and not trying to deal with it when you're outside of the arena, looking at the due diligence.
Absolutely. But James, that also is a good learning. It's good learning for you, and now you're sharing this with other people. And that's just, if I'm thinking about it, I know a lot of people who, buy a plot of land, buy properties, or actually not buy, secure the potential deal with the vendor, and they add planning permission onto those properties and sell them on to developers like you and me. And we're thinking, okay, it's got planning, so now the potential value of that property is just gone up. So you might overpay for something that actually is not feasible in the first place. And that's your story, that's your learning. Great.
And absolutely. And the other way I would add value, Greg, let's go a stage further. Let's say you saw that planning application, you saw it couldn't be built, and then you made the vendor aware of that. Then there's a bit of leverage there to work on the actual purchase price. So maybe you could get a property at the price that would work based on that plans or those plans, knowing that there could be some adjustments that could be made after the event. So there's lots and lots of tips there. You could renegotiate the value of the property based on, is it buildable? And secondly, you'd have an understanding of how you could deal with the planning application once you bought the property. So there might be a property where everybody's walking away from it knowing it can't be built, but because of your experience and your way of dealing with the problem, you might be able to turn that around. So in other words, you could win from the actual buying, and you can win from the doing. Remember what Emmanuel Ekizel said, that most people pay too much at the beginning, underestimate the cost of the build, and overestimate the GDV. Okay? I learnt those 3 things by making the mistake in the first place. But you don't have to make those mistakes, guys, girls. Listen to this show. We can help you avoid those mistakes. So this is real adding. This is what this show is all about. It's about adding value, giving modern entrepreneurs a step up, a leverage up.
And you're right. Listen, I went to Emmanuel, but Emmanuel is really good. So shout out to Emmanuel, bro. Yeah. You're absolutely amazing. You're smashing it. And I had a meeting with him, and I've just put a deal in front of him, and I told and I just had all of my calculations. And listen, he just told me what I'm not seeing it, and what I'm a little bit more optimistic. And this is it. Having people in your team, in your power team, is very important, because sometimes we are really excited about the potential in the property, and that's where we're making mistakes. And I've done it. So And if you've done a similar mistakes and you're out there watching us, just give us a like. We don't, you can agree, you don't have to agree, but at least you're one of them who's trying and failing but progressing, and that's important.
Greg, that's an interesting point. Actually, I know that you have done this in the past, where you've thought about it's all about you. It's all about your project's all about you, and really, my point is that collaboration is actually key, and understanding what your unique ability is. Okay, now that can come from wealth dynamics, that might come from something you enjoy doing, but you cannot be the person that's good at everything in a project. Tell me a little bit about something that happened to you that made you realize that.
So yeah, thank you, James. James is my best friend, and he knows me really well. And so my problem, my challenge, my biggest challenge is me. So my individualism didn't allow me to leverage on other people. I didn't allow myself to leverage on other people and share those responsibilities in the projects that we recently completed. I thought I'm going to do this on. I wanted to do everything on my own, whether this is to save the cost, to do it better, and for a lot of reasons, I wanted to do it. Perhaps it was the time as well. I wanted to get it quicker, but actually, it took massively longer because I've committed not only for one thing, I've committed to too many things, and I forgot about life. I forgot about the other businesses, and just even the time to reflect on things that needs to happen, or maybe time to relax. So I've overworked myself. I've burned myself out, and at that point, I realized I can't do it on my own. So I start leveraging other people, and this is the key: collaboration and leveraging your time. We talked about about that on previous podcast, and possibly, James, we will be talking about it again and again and again because we don't really, you know, a lot of people don't really understand how to use and leverage someone else's time.
So I mean, that leads on to something that we've always said, and we will always want to add value to everybody on this show. And we always talk about it's not about you doing stuff on your own. It's about you collaborating. It's about getting that team of people around you. And you don't have to be employing people. Don't think that because you're not good at this or good at that or good at that, it's all about understanding you are unique. You have an ability. As long as you've got passion, as long as you've got direction, as long as you know who you are and what you're trying to achieve, that will attract other people to you. And when those people turn up, and that might be from networking or maybe that's social media, choose your team wisely, because property, the game, is a long-term thing. It's about building relationships with long-term people in the long-term game. So it's not about quick wins. And sometimes, Greg, have you often found this, that you meet someone for the first time and you don't really gel straight away? You don't really get each other. But by working at it, by spending more time with that person, you actually realize that, it's like, oh, I didn't really like you when I first met you. But actually, as I'm getting to know you and I'm getting to understand you and I'm getting to see, the sort of things you're getting up to, I can actually see that you are worth investing more time and energy in. And quite often it's the people that this thing about, you get to know someone in the first few seconds. Yeah, I get that. But we're talking about profit, property, business. We need to put a little bit more effort into the people that we meet, because they might not be, they might not be resonating in those first few seconds. So choose your team. Get yourself out there, get yourself networking. I say it time and time again, speak to the speakers, because their team, their networking team, are probably very successful, and you want to really be part of that. So it's one of the biggest things that I would say. Greg, I know I wanted to talk to you about something that happened to you and how you deal with working with mates. So we have friends that are in the industry, especially you run
Yes.
your own electrical business. So how have you found working with mates, and what did you do about that?
So actually, this will be successes and failures. So just to go back to your previous statement, The success, it was actually the networking, because I've met James, Matt, another James, and so many people. And you're from my local networking events, and you know who you are. And just by talking to these guys, I was able to move forward with my investments like massively, absolutely
Mm.
massively. So people are very important, and they're part of your team. Not only that they have, not directly worked on your project, but it's just the advice they give you is crucial for you to move on or not make that mistake. Absolutely crucial. So
I don't know if I've lost Greg there. Can you see me? Have we lost Greg? Okay. Well, can someone put in the comments if you can still see me or Greg? Just give us something in the comments if you can see me.
please give me a
Okay.
moment.
So
Hello, James. Can you hear me?
yes, you're back. Oh, I was just putting in the. I was trying to get someone to put in the
Yes.
comments.
So,
You're back.
as I said, as I said, I'm in Turkey, and the internet is a luxury here. So while it still lasts, as I say, so working with people, networking is absolutely important. These Power Team is going to change your life, and being a part of a bigger network is definitely. I'm a part of the Property Entrepreneur and the Next Level events, and the Developers Network is absolutely great networking places to be involved, being part of it. But James, just before I started, James, alluded to working with mates, working with friends. So using your friendships to go and build together. And you have to be very careful, because I've used friends on my developments, and this may be good, and this may be also not so good. It could be
Mm,
tragic. And let me share my experience with you. So I know a lot of people, a lot of trades, and it's good because they will give you their personal opinion, their personal view. But you have to keep this in mind. You might not know what they know, but they don't know what you know. So
yeah.
if you are already on that experience journey, and you know why you're doing this expensive developments, why you're spending, you know, double the amount for a decorating budget, they might not understand, and their advice might not be suitable for what you need. That's the one opinion. And the second one is, even though there are friends, the, the the diligent supervisory has to be in place from the very beginning, because trust is not given. Trust is earned. And in friendship, sometimes we are likely mm, to reduce that level of supervision, because, oh, it's my mate, we know each other since we've been little, for the last 30 years. But actually, it's understanding it's project, it's business at the end of the day. And if this is a business, we should treat it as a project managing everything, every step of the way, and accountability for all they do. And just be absolutely clear about expectations from the day one. Having a contract in place for clear expectations and responsibility is my advice.
I totally agree with that, Greg. I mean, as you know, I bought and sold two successful businesses. And
Mm.
along the way, it's been really easy to employ friends and family. And I would say, in the main, I wouldn't do it because you, it's a difficult one. If someone's going to fail and it's a family member or a friend, and they're obviously not pulling their weight, they're not doing a very good job, it's very difficult to give them feedback because you don't want to, ruin that relationship you've got with them outside of work. So my advice is I wouldn't do it. I would stick with employing professional people and having that professional relationship. But here's a little tip. When it doesn't really matter who you employ, who you use. What really matters is you understand quickly if they're right for you or not. There's no point in you flogging a dead horse. There's no point in you carrying somebody through if they're not up to the job. And I'm sure, you would have done that, Greg, in your line of work. You wouldn't allow, especially in electrical work, if you had someone that you'd contracted in to work on your sites and their work wasn't up to scratch, you've got to get them off site quick because they could hurt somebody. There's that health and safety as well as the quality of your work. So what's your thoughts on hiring family and friends, Greg? Have you done this?
Well, I work with my wife.
That's not the same.
I have to tread very carefully what I'm going to go and say next. I'm very privileged to be working with Max. She's absolutely amazing, and she makes this. She allows it to make this easy for me because she really takes on all the hard work, all the long hours, and all the back of house, the repetitive tasks. So thanks, honey. You're really making a difference here. But working with friends, with family and friends, I'll put it that way. It is actually easier to talk to a stranger and tell him how disappointed and dissatisfied you are with their work, because sometimes a friendship stands in the way of you getting in business with someone. And allow me to say something really wise. Me and my friend, we've been wanting to get into a business for some time now, but the wise words were, I respect the relationship and I don't want to do business with you because we might the competitiveness and we might disagree along the way, as in we do the way we do things, and I value the relationship. So and we haven't done business together, but we're still good friends, and that is sometimes more important. There's a lot of tradespeople out there, so choose your team wisely, and and respect your friends, because you might not feel very comfortable turning around and say, listen, this is really, really shit, unless you are that person. So, go ahead and do it.
It's classic, don't mix business and pleasure. I wanted to just touch on something that has happened to me. So, again, it's okay to fail. You're not, we've been in property for a couple of years, Greg, so we are still quite new to it, but we are very successful in business because of our business background. We're successful in property, but failure leads to success. What do I mean by that? So I've got a project where, it's a commercial site again, because I love it, turning it into residential. It's 4 flats, and I'm obviously trying to find builders to do it. I don't really know the area. I don't really have any networking experience in that field. So I'm taking a bit of a punt on some builders. And so basically what we did is we got in some builders that were really good value for money. I'm not going to say cheap, because I'm that crazy, but really, really good value for money. Good small team of builders, and they were, they'd show me some work on their mobile phone, and they looked pretty decent. So we gave them a go. Remember what we said about networking as well. We always want to make sure we're out there networking at least once a month. Once a week would be great. And sometimes going to the networking events that we don't want to go to. Maybe it's rainy, maybe it's dark, maybe it's a journey, but it's the networking events that you don't want to go to that you should go to. So all the time I was networking, I was meeting people, and I was going to things that maybe I didn't want to go to, but I'm still doing the networking. Even though I've got a team of builders that have started work, I'm still looking for the network, better people, better builders. So these builders come in and they're really, really quick, Greg, and they're firing along, and it looks like they're doing a great job. But the reality is the relationship started to fall down. They used to bring less and less people to site, and it felt like that I was not getting that quality of workmanship or anything getting done. So it's gone from starting really well, going really well, to tailing off as a complete shambles. So I had to stop the build, pause the project, get them off site. So cut my losses. So I'm in a bit of a state now. So I've now got a building that's half started. So there's ramifications of building control, warranties. Has the work been done properly? I've got all of that sort of thing happening. So I've got this sort of bit of a victim mentality, if you like. So while I was networking, I was talking to a guy about the problem that I had, and he said, "Hey, I know someone that's in that area that's very good at, saving projects, if you like." So from networking, this guy came around and he looked at the project. And although he took a couple of weeks to get back to me, eventually sent me somebody that would come and look at the work that had been done and perhaps take on the project. Best thing that ever happened, Greg. This team of builders, so this serendipity, this great thing that came out of this complete failure meant that I met these builders that would not only take that project on, but have become the absolute saving grace for me. So there we go. So sometimes failure leads to success. And there was the example for me is I found a fantastic build team from finding the worst one in the beginning. So that's a real good bit of advice there. And as I say, don't think that a fail will last forever. It's about looking for the flower in the ashes,
Absolutely, James. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. That's, well, great story for you and good experience.
And and the other thing I wanted to, if I know we haven't got much time today, and it is all about the learnings. I wanted to talk to you about, money is the last thing that you should worry about when it comes to projects and building. And I haven't really spoken to you much about this, Greg, actually, and now's a good time actually. So I know that you've got a really, really good project, and we really should talk about that. But when you look at projects, Greg, do you look at a project from what you can afford, or do you look at a project for what a project is? What's your view on money?
So because I've, this is the journey I've gone through. So firstly, I looked at what I can afford. That's exactly how I've been. That's how I started. And that's possibly how 99% of, you out there looking at it is what you can do and what you can afford. But actually, trust me when I say this, there is hundreds, and if we're looking at the whole world, millions and billions of people who are going through a very difficult moment now because, the economy is not helping their money, their savings, or, they've got money sitting in a bank account and being eroded by inflation. And when I say if someone has a couple of millions, they're losing thousands of pounds, every year, and you're coming and helping them, and they are helping you. That's a win-win scenario. And trust me when I say that, you're look at the deals from the perspective if it's a good deal, is not what you can afford, is who who can do this with you, and that's all there is. Because if the deal is really good, money's going to be there for you.
Absolutely. And what money does is money will always turn up when it's needed. It won't be there before, and it won't be late. If you are really passionate about a property deal, if you've got so much driving force, so much intention, maybe it's part of your overall passion, maybe it's part of your overall goal, this is going to happen, stake in the ground, watch me. That kind of driving force, if you times that by flow, the timing, the synchronicity of life, letting things develop, you will find the money for that deal 100%. In fact, I was having a talk to a chap on Friday, and we were talking about, he was in the property business and I was in the parcel business. And what we discussed is that we've both started in our business by not worrying about the money. We were so passionate about what we wanted to do and our overall achievement that money just came along exactly at the right time because of the passion and commitment that we showed. So that would be really my advice to everybody, modern entrepreneurs, people getting into properties. Please don't worry about the money from the onset. It's not about what you can afford. It's about what your investors can afford. And I want you to imagine that you found an investor with 10 million quid that needs to invest it. Like Greg said, sitting in the bank, inflation erodes that away. They need to invest. What investors are looking for, they're looking for great projects that deliver great returns, but they're looking for someone with the passion to drive it through, the driving force. They're looking for you.
Yes.
So it's not about what you can afford. It's about what your investors see in you and about what they can afford.
James, I have an idea for our next podcast, and you might actually like that. How about if we show some pictures before and after, and maybe some update from the the most recent projects that
Yes.
we are completing or completed, and something we're currently working on. So I'm just I'm just going through a purchase of another house, which this will be eventually 8-bedroom HMO. It's going to be a great one. And how about if we just share some some real life situations, what we did and what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Sometimes it's nice to see the before and afters. Well, obviously, today's
Yes.
podcast is about us encouraging people to start. That is the biggest failure, not starting. Oh, incidentally, a big shameless shout out to my interior designer, Jeanette, who's just had one of her properties featured in a magazine. So Vivanti
Nice.
Interiors, Jeanette is smashing it. She's my interior designer. We call it the Jan and I's effect. Everything she touches turns to gold. So well done, Jan. I can see you're in a magazine this week. A shameless plug for you. So thank you for
Well
your
done.
amazing work and being part of my team.
Well, brilliant. Listen, James, this was really good, but I've got this amazing place to go back to, and my family who's waiting for me. But it's been like always and every week absolutely amazing to be here with you and sharing what we know, sharing what we've experienced with our absolutely amazing audience. And I wish you that you're gonna find find the energy, find the drive in yourself to do, and it's okay to fail, and it's okay to to get no from everyone, because you're only looking for one yes at a time. And if you're always if you're always aiming to get no, then that's not a problem. That's going forward. It's progress. So James, that's my last final words for today, is just aim for no, and it's okay to fail, and get you going
Absolutely.
forward.
Absolutely. And like I said, Greg, the biggest failure is not starting. So get out there, get yourself a coach, get yourself someone that's going to be in your arena, in your corner, working with you, that's been there, done it. That would be that would be the thing that I would leave everybody with. Get yourself a coach, someone that's been there and done it, and that will help you with your positivity and your mindset. So absolutely fantastic. Greg, really
Absolutely.
enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, everyone. See you next week, and tune in to our our podcast, where you're going to hear about the before and after, and actually see it, what we did and what we're going to do going forward. Thank you for tuning in today. Have an amazing Sunday. Take care.
Take care. Bye.